So today I want to do something a little bit different, which is explain a sales concept. And let's see if we can have this be applied to your life in general. The concept is buying criteria and how to reframe your prospects' buying criteria. So what are buying criteria? Well, buying criteria are, as the name implies, criteria that your prospects use to filter out different products and services, which means that if a prospect's buying criterion would be price, then they would be more price sensitive than a prospect's buying criteria that doesn't include price. So what are a prospect's typical buying criteria? Well, you could say, well, it's price, it's quality, it's ease of access, it's availability, it's customer support. Those are all their different buying criteria. Now, you can get granular if you want, specific to your product or service. So what you need to do when you're speaking with a prospect who has specific first of all, you want to flesh out their buying criteria. So you want to find out what is important to them. And the easiest way to ask that is, what are your expectations, right? From this partnership, from this relationship, from this product, like what are your expectations? What do those look like? Like, what are you hoping to actually accomplish with this? And they'll tell you exactly what they want. And then you could kind of get a little bit more specific. So what exactly do you mean by that? And then, you let them kind of get into things. Now, if they don't know, if they tell you, if they can't come up with an answer, that's when you make assumptions. Don't make assumptions beforehand, because you don't want to control their perception if they already have an idea in mind. But if they have no idea in mind, then the best thing to do is give them some suggestions which would be relevant to what you sell, right? Your product or your service, which makes sense because they're speaking to you. You're not going to make recommendations, or you're not going to throw out an assumption that your product or service doesn't contain, because that doesn't make any sense. So let's talk about the buying criteria. So what you have to do is control the definition of buying criteria. So the market, I have some notes here that I'm going to read for a second. So the market tells you what they want and need, because they are the market. So if you do any market research, any level of market research, then you're going to find out specifically what people value. So you could find out other similar products, other similar services, other similar companies, and find out, okay, where do customers typically gravitate towards most, and what are the value propositions of those other companies, so you could see what they're valuing. Well, it could be reliability, it could be credibility, like how long they've been in business, reputation. A lot of those things actually do come into play. So what you need to do in general is, if you don't have these things like credibility and reputation, you have to build those things up and have. That's why people always talk about like showing testimonials, showing reviews. It's a very common thing, right? Even on the online space, all the time. So let's continue here. The market tells you what they want to need, and you tell them why your design fits their wants and needs best, if it does. Because remember that they're a prospect. So they're a prospective customer. That's what that means. So unless you're selling a product that is just applicable to anybody who has that problem, and you're just like, well, yeah, here you go. Like, you're lacking vitamin D, here's vitamin D. Like my product, I have a vitamin D product. And if you feel like you're lacking vitamin D, or you've done blood work by your doctor and they're showing you that you require more vitamin D, well, here you go. I have vitamin D. So this is a perfect match, right? That's an easy example for you to wrap your head around. So you got to tell them why your design fits their wants and needs best, because you're probably not selling vitamin D, probably selling something else. So you have to explain to them, based off of what they tell you, why your product or service is the right fit for them, if it is, right? Because you have to find out, okay, if it is, because the thing is, if it is and you're dropping sales, that just means that you don't have a good sales process. You're not going through the call in the right way in order for you to close the deal. Now, there's other things there like urgency, scarcity. That's why you always have to ask the customer, as far as like the prospect, as far as like their timeline. Is it something that they need to do right now? Why is it important to solve right now? Because the last thing that you want to do is have them defer to some later date. Like, get to the end of the conversation, they're like, yeah, I'm going to look into this in a couple of months from now, 2-3 months from now, because I'm going on vacation. Well, you should have probably talked about that in discovery, as far as, do you have any vacation plans? Are you going anywhere? Do you want to start this now? Like, when is it important for you to actually get going on this. That you have to determine that, because you can listen, you can put them in the pipeline, but you don't want to have conversations with the people who don't have a sense of either urgency or who have a time frame that you can actually close the deal in that moment, ideally. Now, if you have a sequence of like, well, you have the meeting and then you have the follow-up meeting because you're sending a proposal and they have to review the proposal and come back to you with questions. If that is your sequence, then it's a little bit different there. But again, more touch points is always better. So again, determine their timeline. Help them understand that your criteria for value, that your criteria, like you as the person with the product or service, that your criteria for value and quality fits their desires best. You teach them how to buy, especially if they've never bought what you offer. That is important. The best prospects that you can sell to, they're prospects that, well, it depends on the type of prospect, because there are some prospects who've never bought what you're selling. And so they're just exploring different options. So like, yeah, well, I'm talking to you, but I also have this other meeting with another company that I'm talking to because I don't know anything about this. And at that point, you got to know that you're not going to close the deal. So the best thing that you have to do is help them think through the process. Help them think in such a way that allows them to think that their needs and your fulfillment is a perfect match. Because then when they go to another company and they keep shopping around, they will remember, first of all, two other things that I talked about in the earliest videos that I recorded, as far as like likability, rapport, respect, credibility, expertise, have all of those things. And then when it comes time to, pitching them or actually communicating with them, being consultative, because again, when you don't want to sell, you want to consult essentially on the sales call, is you got to put the picture together, like them and you. It's like, that's the only puzzle piece that fits. Like that's the only piece that fits. So that way, when they go to explore, they're realizing, well, this is not really a perfect fit. Vice versa. If they have explored, find out, okay, what have they done? What did they like? What didn't they like? And then, you can adjust your pitch accordingly. Now, that's if they haven't bought your thing before. Now, if they have, then yeah. So that's if they haven't. So if they have, then well, the process is effectively the same. But what you want to do is explain to them why everything they've done in the past hasn't worked and what hasn't worked and why yours will be different. So you have to that's why you have to have UVPs, unique value propositions. So you have to explain why whatever they've done in the past or whatever if they've used in the past, why that hasn't worked and why yours is going to be different and is the golden bridge to get them to their outcome. You hear this in marketing circles all the time, the unique mechanism, right? What is unique about your thing that will make you different than anybody else? Okay, so keep those things in mind. But I think the key phrase here is teaching them how to buy, right? That's what you're doing. If I have to summarize this whole video in one phrase, as far as buying criteria, it's like you're teaching them how to buy. And I think what I can do actually in future videos, I'm not going to do it this time because I don't want to convolute this video too much with like different concepts and how to apply this now to your professional or your personal life or whatever. But I'm going to do that in a future video. But just keep that in mind. It's like what you're doing is reframing, controlling the definition of buying criteria so that you're teaching them how to buy. So that way they feel like you and them and their needs are a perfect match. So hope that was helpful. Some sales principles today. Haven't done one of these in a while. And I'll leave you at that. And I will definitely see you tomorrow as usual. It's almost 7 o'clock right now for me. So I'll upload this soon. Hopefully you can get some value from it. Have a good rest of your Saturday and I'll see you soon.